Hello and welcome to the Adventure Games podcast. This is Shorta Dunbar, and I hope everybody is doing well. If you were listening to this on any podcast platform, then we're also on YouTube. You can watch this interview on YouTube if you so wish. And if you are watching on YouTube, thank you. We're trying to build up some subscribers. So if you're into adventure games, this is your first time either watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, feel free to subscribe wherever you consume this. If you are listening or if you're watching this on YouTube, and we can hopefully get more subscribers built up. We do interviews with developers of the latest adventure and narrative driven games. We also do reviews of the latest adventure and narrative games with people such as Cressup, who people might know, Johnny Nice, Thomas Becks, Matt Latham of the Ask About Loot podcast, and Kieran Childs. So make sure to subscribe if you'd like to be notified anytime any video comes up as well, or subscribe to the podcast if you listen to it. Okay, so for this interview, I was delighted to be joined by Remy Siu of Sunset Visitor. Last year, they released 1000 times Resist, or 1000x Resist, and it has overwhelmingly positive review on Steam. It has got some truly fantastic reviews. It's won a couple of awards. It's been nominated for multiple awards, and it has just been, or it will be, probably by the time you're watching or listening, it will be launched on consoles. And we spoke about all of that. We spoke about the game, we spoke about the launch on consoles, and a whole lot more with no spoilers. So it was a great conversation. So before my conversation, here is a quick trailer. It's a new trailer of the game that has just been launched on consoles, followed by my interview. So please enjoy.
I need you to admit you had a choice and that you made the wrong one.
Love your mother and trust in her teachings. Do your duties and carry out your function for a future far from sin or incineration. It's like she was just here. She was. Just flowers in a garden of her making. Soon will grow beautiful enough to be worth taking. The old mother, she shines so bright. But mother's glow is not as warm as it had seemed to be, and it feels very far from me, and it feels very far from me.
So I am delighted to be joined by Remy Siu, the developer of 1000 times Resist, a developer at Sunset Visitor. I should say the award-winning 1000 times Resist. It's won several awards, a Peabody Award and I believe a Nebula Award, and it's been finalist for multiple awards, and it has overwhelmingly positive reviews, over 3,600 reviews, overwhelmingly positive on Steam, and it's just been, or it's just about to be released on consoles. So I'm looking forward to playing, to playing this game and discussing it. So first of all, hello Remy, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I just want to quickly say that we were a finalist for the Nebulas. We did not win the Nebula.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry, I was
No
getting
worries,
ahead
no
of
worries,
myself.
no worries. I just want to always. In my dreams, we did win the Nebula.
I mean, still a finalist is pretty good.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's-
we're really happy about it.
So,
Yeah.
but you did win the Peabody Award, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay. Because
that's correct. Yeah.
I
Yes.
saw all these awards and finalists,
Hmm.
and I misread. But yeah, still, it's
Yes.
very very good, and I've heard nothing but good things about this game. It's a fascinating game that I've heard that is very different to almost anything else out there. So look forward to discussing it. But before we talk about your game, the question that I always ask every guest, and they always tell me this is the most difficult question. So I get this out of the way. Is do you have any favorite adventure or narrative games that you wanted to give a shout out?
Oh, yes. Actually, I this one's easy for me because
Oh, perfect.
and I don't know if I always will take the opportunity um to shill Perfect Tides. Um
Yes.
yes, Perfect Tides and also um I gotta pause. I gotta quickly look at it, make sure I know which one it is. Oh yes, you can cut that part.
Yeah.
Perfect Tides and Videoverse
Oh, I've
are
heard of
kind of
that.
my double billings for these narrative games that are released relatively recently. That maybe people have not heard about, but I'm a big fan of both.
I mean, I've certainly heard of both. We reviewed A Perfect Tides. It's Kieran who
Yeah.
reviewed it. He said it's one of his favorite games ever. And
Yes.
several
Same.
other people have said the same,
Yeah.
including people like Dave Gilbert and Francisco Gonzalez. Dave
Yeah.
Gilbert
Yeah.
of Wajida, said this is one of his
Yeah.
favorite, and it's about, I believe, it's about a young girl, but all these, men have said that they found her very relatable and related to for their lives.
I
Um,
think it's just, this classic thing of like it feels like it's coming from a very specific place. So in that way it feels intimate and really and very much grounded in so
mm.
many things that feel real. So yeah, I could talk about it all day.
Well,
We
sure,
could talk
sure.
about it all day. I mean, we
Oh yeah, well, we're
I'm
here to
down.
talk about your game as well.
But we can also talk about Perfect
But
Times.
yeah, and the sequel coming out as well. I really should play the first one first because I really want to
Yeah,
play
station
it.
to station. Yeah, yeah.
And but a
You hear
great
that,
and
Meredith? This is all. This is all that. This is why I go on podcasts.
to talk about your game. Well, and then
Well,
maybe she can
to
come
go.
up.
Well, no, specifically. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Every podcast I go on to, I always take an opportunity to tell us to say something about Perfect Times.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think it's
Yeah.
great to give a shout out to games that we really like and developers as well. And maybe she can come on the podcast to talk about your game. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
And then the other one, Videoverse. I've heard also a lot about it, but I haven't
Yeah.
played it. And you've played. What did you like
Yes.
about it? I promise you, we will talk about your game
Yeah. No.
very
No.
shortly.
I
But
that's totally fine. I'm happy to push. Talking about my game as long as possible. I think Videoverse, what it also feels very honest, and I think it also feels very of a time, and that time. I'm a millennial, so like I think I'm right smack in the middle, millennial. Um, so that kind of early internet, and we've had games about the early internet, like something like Emily is Away and games like this, but Videoverse um, also feels very intimate, feels very grounded in something real, even though the kind of forum that you take part of, I believe it's like inspired by the Nintendo DS or kind of like Picto Chat or whatever they used to call it. I can't remember now. Um, but it just shows has such a thing about depicting that time on the internet and what it was like to hang out and meet people during that time and have friendships with those people, and then have that change over time as well. Um, yeah, it feels really it's really great.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I remember around that time I was a millennial like yourself, and
Hmm.
I got involved in what is it called, e-wrestling, where you had
Right.
characters of wrestling, and then you had to
Yeah.
kind of write these role plays, and then the
Yeah.
one person who got the best role plays would win or something like that. And I
Yeah.
made friends, in those, and then I helped one person even with the design of the website, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
kid, but it's
Yeah.
still, yeah, it's still kind of a lot of really, really good memories of that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Videoverse is definitely something I think I should play as well. That it sounds like
Yeah.
there
I
are two
recommend it.
games that
Yeah.
have already been on my list, but now it seems like they've gone up. But no, that's perfect. But now we're here to talk about your game, 1000 times Resist, which I've heard a lot about. But so I wanted to ask you first, when did you uh, start making games? Did you have you made any other games before 1000 times Resist, or is this your first game?
This is my first
Wow, what is a hell of a
game.
game
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
first game. So how did
I
you get
I
started?
yeah, so prior to um starting the company and working on this game, um I was a performing artist and a new media artist. I trained as a composer. Um, so I studied music in university, but then kind of drifted towards experimental theater, and then eventually, drifted towards new media work as well, and kind of fusing those for stage. So much of my life, or like my adult life at least, was making that type of work. Um, and that was up until the pandemic, which was kind of when I switched over to working on games, or working on this game in particular, because of a lot of what I just couldn't really practice right, during the pandemic, I guess, as a performing artist. And um, I felt like I needed to change over. I kept thinking that if there was a time that I would have the time to try and learn all the things I needed to learn, or to try to make a go at it, that would be it was then. So um yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay, well, as I said, it's a hell of a game to start as your first game. So I suppose when did you sit down? Where did you get the idea to make this game? So we'll go into more detail into the
Mm.
game, but how did this idea of this game develop in your head?
So during that time when I was trying to teach myself how to use Unity and get comfortable in the engine, I was working on something else, not this game. And as the pandemic progressed, um, it started to feel more and more surreal. I'm sure everybody felt that kind of thing. But in particularly, like in Canada, some things that were happening um, very quickly, that they told us would never happen. And one of those things was this emergency response benefit, which looked very suspiciously like universal basic income. And they had told us, of course, up until that time, that it was like it would take too long to implement, it would take forever to implement. And then of course they turned it around in like a week when they needed to. um and so it was at that moment it really felt like um there was a era changing time. And of course, things have not really panned out the way that I thought I might. But in that one moment, it felt like there was a lot of possibility and a lot of real untethered or ungroundedness from what had come before. And so it made it really feel like 2019 um, was like a decade ago, even though it was only March 2020 or April 2020. And so that was kind of the original feeling or affect that I had when I started working on the game, um, where the prototype that I was making involved um, the player character Watcher, um, observing and watching people in her past, feeling very alienated from it, even though her past is our present. So it's this feeling of being like, oh, this feels very familiar, but I feel extremely distanced from it now. Um, and then kind of ran with it from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, never have I found anything as relatable as you said that when 2019, it feels
Mhm.
so long ago. And I've
Yeah,
heard
it's
from other
wild.
developers who say that when they set games that are in the present, that now, especially when we had to, wear masks and during
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they were saying, God, it's going to be so awkward now to draw the masks and have,
Right.
all the COVID restrictions and all. So let's
Yeah.
just set the game in 2019. It,
Yeah, yeah.
just to
It's
make
like
things easier.
the world as we knew it, the last known world as we knew
Oh,
it.
it was, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was, yeah, around the world. I mean, it was a hugely significant event worldwide that,
For sure.
so yeah, so it really changed, I think, the world. But yeah, we had something good that's come from it, which was this game. So,
Well,
well, maybe not
there's
just
other.
from
Yes,
COVID,
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
just from COVID. Sorry, that was very
Yeah.
general comment.
No,
Uh,
no, no. I'm just yeah, yeah.
but so I suppose that we can get into the game. So, and I know there's a lot in this game, but as a developer, I'll ask you: can you set this game up? Can you tell us who we're playing as, what this game is about,
Yes.
basically, and the setting?
Yeah. So you are playing, as I had mentioned, a character named Watcher, who is tasked to go and relive and observe the memories of the Allmother. And the Allmother is the last surviving human from that time. And Watcher and many of her sisters are clones of the Allmother, and they all worship her in the society. And so much of the game is reliving those memories and discovering how all the things played out the way they did. It's told in a very nonlinear way, and also kind of living amongst the society of clones, um, and what it's like to be in that society and have relationships in that society, and what that culture is. I should also say that it starts with the murder of the Allmother. You murder the Allmother at the
Okay,
beginning, so
so it's not a
that's not a
spoiler.
spoiler. It's in the trailer. Yeah, it so it begins at that point, and then kind of it goes backwards to kind of unravel why that might have happened. So
Okay.
yeah.
And why did you decide to make this game non-linear? Were there any challenges to that, or
I should say that it's told out of chronological order,
okay.
as opposed to say gameplay wise being completely nonlinear. Like it kind of rotates from very much being a very linear experience to having a little bit more a tiny open world in which you can like walk around in. Um, so, but in terms of how it's told chronologically out of order. So in a nonlinear fashion that way, I should say. Yeah,
Okay. And were there
yeah.
any challenges to making it this way, or compared to say
Oh,
if it fully linear? Or
yeah. There. Well, you know what though, it does allow. I think part of one of the interests here at the studio and my own interest is that trying to take um formal techniques, I guess, like for example, telling a story out of order, out of chronological order, and then find diegetic reasons for those things to happen and try to follow that line. So it for in terms of challenges, it did come with a lot of challenges in the sense that sometimes it's easier to tell something out of order, um, like say in film if you already filmed the whole thing.
Mm,
Right, so like in games it's tough because like you can't just like you don't have the footage sitting around that you can slice and dice and experiment that way. You have to like think about it from an abstract place sometimes and then realize it. um but I think it actually gave us a lot of artistic freedom being able to tell things. It allowed us to engage in montage, which I think is always great. Once you can engage in that a little bit, you're like, oh, you get a bit of freedom on how somebody can experience something, and you get gaps, I guess, which is really um, something that we like, which is just like being able to create gaps uh, between so that people can infer. Um, as opposed to not having them, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So you mentioned that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned that we go back through some of the memories of, is it the old mother?
The All
I
Mother,
believe.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about any of these memories that we discovered in the game? Now, of course, I don't want
Yeah.
to give any spoilers,
Yeah.
but just curious. Can you tell us what to expect from some of the memories, or one or
Yeah.
two of the
So
memories?
one of the memories is of her time at in high school, and her having a really, really bad falling out with her very close friend, um, which leads to these otherworldly beings appearing, and um, then everybody around her dying.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and
Oh, that's not good.
um, well, this is one of the not good things that happens in this game. And then another time is when she's been taken away um, to be studied, and um, sorry, I should say that it's a little bit closer to the present in the game, where the All Mother is overseeing some sisters, and she's given a very well-meaning birthday gift, but it she takes it very badly, and yeah, and uses the cake knife to to uh, to do something. So
I can
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
So
So
it's not cutting cake, I imagine.
well, she does. I guess she does cut cake. No, she does. She does.
Oh, okay.
Well, at one point, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So those are just some of the things that
okay.
happen. Yeah.
And then you mentioned that there's aliens that come there. There, do they feature prominently in the story? Then again, without giving any spoilers, I try not to. I hope
Yeah,
I'm not giving
yeah, no,
spoilers,
no.
but
These entities. This is the part that I missed in the first description of it, which is like these entities called the occupants have come to Earth, and they've spread some kind of disease that has killed a lot of people, and kind of forces people um, not to live on the surface, and uh, to always have to wear masks. So
okay,
yeah,
that
yeah. Yeah,
that sounds very
and when you
similar
get
to.
it, like when you get it, like the disease, when you get it, the way that it manifests is that your eyes start to water, and then it keeps watering until you dehydrate and you die.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
yeah, that's
And any vaccines or anything for this particular disease? In
no, that didn't go down. So
oh, okay.
fortunately,
And was COVID sort of, did that serve as inspiration for that with
oh
people wearing masks you mentioned, or
well,
was it just any disease?
I think it was specifically how the pandemic was playing out, um, that I think we got to depict it in a contemporaneous way, because there are pandemic movies that you've seen, right?
Hmm.
Like this, that, like I'm sure people watch this during the pandemic, the Contagion movie, right?
Yes, I
And
actually
so
watched the very beginning, and that and
yeah,
the other one with Dustin Hoffman.
yeah. And so what was really strange about the pandemic is that it like 100% did not play out the way that we thought it would. The way that we were experiencing it also, and seeing what was happening around the world, and just sometimes the level of denial that it was happening, you know, was not on the bingo card. And so I think in the game because it was also made during the pandemic, as those things were kind of unfolding, um, we do get to depict at least the onset of the disease contemporaneously, I think. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Well, thankfully,
yeah.
we thankfully with COVID, we don't just start what getting eyes watering and then
No,
just die.
no,
That there's
I know. Yeah, I know.
now I know
It's
people
not.
did die, but we do
Yes,
have
yes,
vaccines now, so
yes,
we do need to
yes.
mention.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
But no, perfect. And so then now this has got us some fantastic reviews with IGN that said that this is a revolution in storytelling. That's beautifully written, spectacularly visualized. And then PC Games then has said at its height, it's achieves the cerebral complexity expected from the likes of Hideo Kojima or Yoko Taro. So that's some very high praise. Are you a fan of either of these, and particularly Hideo Kojima?
Oh yeah, yeah. Why not? Yeah, of course.
It's
Both Kojima and Yoko Taro, I'm huge fans of. So
Hmm.
it's
So
it's
was it kind of to be compared to these, I'm sure you must be very proud, but was it kind of when you're writing the story, were you influenced by them, would you say, or is
I
it just your
think
story that you're telling, or
no, I mean I think you uh no matter what you do, especially as an artist, I guess as you try to make things and you make things, you carry with you things that you like, you don't like, and those are equally important. And and for sure, like I think, both somebody like Kojima and somebody like Yoko Taro, you know, some of the work that they've done gives people permission
Hmm.
to in the case sometimes to be silly in certain moments, to do things a certain way, to definitely, I felt um being given permission by playing Kojima games, and especially Yoko Taro games, and like something like Nier Automata. Really, it's like, oh yeah, you could, this is stuff yet to you can still explore. This stuff is like, um you can do it this way, or you can, like it's one of those nice things. Like every time I think something really cool is made, um I hope that it gives other artists permission. So it definitely gave me permission, those two.
Yeah, and I guess with
Yeah.
the two of them, and now with yourself with this game, I guess one thing you all have in common is that you take risks with the storytelling.
Right.
That certainly, these aren't games designed by committee, and you have vision that they're not like ticking boxes. They are like your own definite vision, and that's what whether especially with Hideo Kojima, whether you love him or not, and I do, I'm a
Mm.
huge fan of the Metal Gear Solid series,
Hmm.
most of the parts of them anyway, but they're
Hmm.
definitely his vision, and he's, as you said, he's taking risks, he's being silly at times, and then he's doing things
Yeah.
that are unorthodox,
Yeah.
and in your game as well. But yeah, no, this is, I mean, and I feel like we've only touched the surface of the
Mm.
story and the setting, that there is so much more to discover in the game. But I, conscious, I don't want to give any spoilers. But I wanted to ask then about the gameplay. So you mentioned that
Hmm.
we go and we go into the memories of the old mother. What can you tell us about the gameplay and how you incorporated that into the story of the game?
Yeah. So when you go explore these memories of the All Mother, um, you're given the ability to move through time periods. And you do this just by pressing, L1 or R1. Um, L1 for backwards, R1 for forwards. And it's a little bit like a Slaughterhouse 5 thing, where you can just pop from one time to another, often in the same place. So you can see a place um, in the past, and then you can see it, 5 years later, and then you can see it, 20 years later. You can see, you can see it all the way, like 100 years before. I don't know. Not 100 years before. So there's this all kind of like, as I was saying, it allows us to additionally also have montage. But you give it in the hands of the player, where it's like you can go back and forth between the past and the present at the click of a button, and see what has happened, and infer what has happened in the interim. So
Okay. So
yeah,
so how do you just describe how do you describe this game? Would you describe it as a walking simulator or an adventure game or
I would
exploration?
describe it, like definitely as an adventure game in the sense that it's like it feels to me at least descendant from um, the point and click adventure games that I grew up
Mm.
playing, which is like something. But as as we were talking before we started recording, but without say the kind of puzzle design of that era. So it's very, I think, descendant of something like The Dig, even though
Okay,
that was
yeah.
a very puzzle heavy game, right? Like I don't want
Absolutely.
to,
Yeah, I remember that
uh,
turtle puzzle.
yeah, but like very narrative forward adventure games, and descendant eventually of something like Kentucky Route Zero, which is another touch point, like relatively recently, of like here's here are some of the things that are really great about adventure games, but let's remove some of those things that we don't need anymore, which is like those puzzles. And so, um, yeah, I, in my brain, it's always been like, yeah, very much the genealogy of this is like, okay, uh, the Dig, Grim Fandango, Kentucky Route Zero, you know, and um, uh, and then of course, that's when, as you said, to walking simulators do enter that. Like Firewatch is, I feel, descendant of that in a slightly different way, but definitely, um, I would say we take influence from all of those types of things. Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic. Because I mean, I love what I love now is
yeah,
there's such a variety of adventure or narrative games. They don't all have to be one particular
yeah.
way. But you mentioned there that this game, or you didn't want to have many puzzles such in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then you mentioned the Dig, which does have puzzles.
Yeah.
Would I be right in saying that what you enjoyed mostly about games like Grim Fandango and the Dig is the narrative and maybe the
Oh,
locations and
totally.
characters? And
Yeah, absolutely. Like I never thought of them as puzzle games. I don't know.
Mm.
I always just thought of them as like, when people tell me about 90s point and click adventures, they're like, oh yeah, but they had those really obtuse puzzles. I was like, oh yeah, right. Like I don't remember those. What I remember is, what happened, and really cool scenes. Like I really remember the scene of like in Grim Fandango when I think it was the mob boss, right? No,
Mm.
no, no. It was Manny, near the end where you know, is wearing like the Grim Reaper kind of thing, and then has a scythe and like cuts the grass, and the grass goes, up in the air, and you realize that the grass is full of like other dead skeletons that have been sprouted or whatever. I don't know, like stuff like that. Yeah, I remember, but I don't remember. I don't remember any of the puzzles I actually had to do in Grim Fandango. I'm sure I did them, but I don't remember any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
think I'm similar. Of course, I do want some challenge, but
yeah,
I think with Grim Fandango, I mean, the dialogue was absolutely fantastic and the setting
yeah,
and the voice act. But like yourself, the puzzles,
yeah.
I think I might have resorted to a walkthrough to get
Oh,
through
for
it,
sure. I mean, I
just to
was
get to
like
the end of the
very
game.
young at the time,
Yeah,
so I was like, I'm just gonna. I mean, we didn't
yeah,
have the internet always, so it was like, yeah, we had to get like a guidebook. Like I played Indiana Jones Fate of Atlantis,
right.
and we had a nice little guidebook, which I coveted.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, I did certainly, and I've
Yeah,
no shame in saying that because I know some people
no,
who are like, I will never use a walkthrough, and I'm like, if I'm stuck,
yeah,
like totally
yeah,
stuck,
yeah.
then absolutely I
Yeah,
will.
like if you're like 6 years old and you're stuck, and the sound card doesn't work, and the you
I
know
think we'll give you a pass if
yeah,
you're 6 years old.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, no, certainly back in
Mm.
1000x Resist, I think people, I'm sure, can compare it to those games because what people seem to talk a lot is, and certainly in the reviews on Steam, is the narrative. I mean, overwhelmingly positive is difficult to get. But another thing about the game that certainly strikes me is the visual design of the game.
Mm.
And again, this is like nothing that I've seen. If I have seen, I can't
Mm.
remember. But I suppose, first of all, how did you create the visual design of the game? What engine did you use, or can you talk about,
Yeah,
can you talk a little bit about that?
it's built in Unity,
Okay.
and I think a lot of the visual design in the game is a combination of our art director Koda Yanagawa's kind of personal style, and kind of pursuing also the this kind of thing that we've like internally called transit core, which is just like in taking influence from like public infrastructure in Asia and in different parts of the world. These like liminal spaces, and um, and a combination also of like my work in theater, and new media, just the way that we may light a scene, or how we may make a scene, or present a scene or stage a scene, is very much still influenced by that. And I mean that in the way that like in theater, or in the theater at least that we practiced, it's like if you're given a flashlight and a box, a cardboard box, kind of grimy one, say, you have to rub those together and make something cool, and you really learn to try and do that. um, so yeah, I think it's this combination of all of these aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's certainly very unique, visually as well, and the colors as well.
Mm,
That that they're like again, it's hard to describe, especially for
yeah.
audio.
Yeah.
Um, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, did you use the Rococo motion capture?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did use that a
And
lot.
what can you tell us about what this is and how you use that?
Yeah, so the Rococo motion capture suit is um, a active suit. I guess I say that because there are passive suits where it involves like having a large studio with cameras, and like the passive suit is like you just have your like ping pong balls or whatever you might call them, on the suit, and then you get a huge kind of like capture. Um, Whereas the Rococo suit is that has sensors on the suit that are active, and you need to power them. And so it's like one of these. I think I got the very first suit that we had in 2018, something like this, um, which seemingly is a long time ago now. But
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, yeah, it's like 7 years ago, and the so that suit we used in our previous projects, prior to the game, to like do motion capture, because it was like, it wasn't cheap by any means, say, but it was like exponentially cheaper than going to like uh, an actual studio, to go do motion capture. And so we did a lot of motion capture for this game to kind of help us along, because we were a small team, but also specifically because from our performing arts background, we know a lot of dancers, or people who are like um, can do stylized movement, or have kind of pretty good control over their body and presence and all that stuff. And so um, we leaned on that a lot, in to help us.
So that helped your experience, in theater helps with the motion capture.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I think we
guessing,
may
yeah.
have done it in a very specific way, where it's like, we got the dancers together who were going to do it, and we spent a week just recording general things. It wasn't even specifically for a specific scene. It would be like, all right, let's devise and play and see what recordings we get, and what we can use. um
And it's obviously worked well for the game. So would you recommend it for other developers then, or if you're thinking of using
oh
motion
yeah, no,
capture?
I so I yeah, okay, this is one of those things where it's like I kind of like know it pretty well now, so I know everything that's wrong with it. But uh I do think, um as frustrating as it can be to use sometimes, um it helped a lot in the game. And I think, if you're looking for really easy to use and set up motion capture, I can't think of anything else. There's my Rococo sponsor. Uh, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sure people can
Yeah.
find out, but it worked well for
Yeah,
you
no,
guys
it
as
did
well.
work.
And
Yeah. Yeah. And the gloves are great, like the smart gloves. Like I like the gloves more than the suit itself. Because it's so eerie to be able to capture such, movement with the hands and like the fingers and everything. So yeah,
yeah,
it
no,
really brings it alive. Yeah.
well, I think it definitely helped with the and the look of the game. And I wanted to ask you about the sound then.
Hmm.
So can you tell us who did the music for the game? And
Yeah.
I suppose how you worked with them to get the music, well, the beats that you wanted in
Mm.
certain scenes, like the more intense scenes and that. So can you tell us about who did the music?
Yeah, so we have two composers who worked on the game. One is Lynn Cacho, and the other one is Drew Redman. And um, when we started working with them, it was very much kind of seeking out. Like I had known Lynn from we met when we were on tour doing something else, or like we were touring something, and then she was touring something. We met at a festival, and kind of kept in contact. And um, Drew, the other composer I had actually went to study music with. I studied music with back when we were in university, and so I think it was um, bringing them both on because I already kind of knew their compositional voice, and I thought it would work well with the game. So, and working with the composers is like my one of my favorite parts because it's um, my background is in music, so it's nice to just go and talk music. Um, and yeah, it's relaxing, at least relaxing for me. Yeah.
Okay, so you're able to work closely then. Were you able to tell them kind of what
Yes.
you wanted, or if they sent you music a
Yes.
piece, where and
Um,
how involved were you in the working with them?
we would review every piece of music together, and I also did a lot of the placement of the music. Even well, we did it together, but in terms of the actual placement of it inside of the middleware that we use, uh, and kind of making it queue on time, like the implementation side of it. Um, so pretty involved, I would say. Um, and I think it's just exciting to listen to some new draft of something from the composers, and sometimes it just goes straight through. It's like, yeah, there's no notes. Like let's finish it up and let's put it in the game. And sometimes it may be more involved where it's like, well, I think they might have to pursue a different approach or something like this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
fantastic. Now we're here talking as well because, as we mentioned at the beginning, this game is now being released on consoles. Becoming out of the fourth. Can you tell us a little bit about the process? How involved you were in that? Because I've heard from people, from other developers that it's quite challenging, let's say, for them, especially for a small studio to
Hmm.
port
Hmm.
games to different consoles.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that? Did you find any challenges and how you got
So
through them when
so I
porting to
think
consoles?
when we ported to a certain low spec handheld console that I will not name directly, um, it was extremely challenging. We launched. We had it was very hard to get going, and it was in many ways I see it as a miracle that we were able to be out on that low spec handheld. um, and it, we had to do a lot of things then um, to make it work, and it benefited our PC version. And then so when we came to porting to the next platforms, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, performance was no longer a concern. So we really got to actually have some fun with seeing the game in 4K, and often at 60 frames per second, or for sure. I think I believe you can go higher maybe if you do 1440p. Um, So there's these different performance modes that we got to build in depending on your preference, but definitely it's very close to 4K 60 almost all the time. Uh,
Okay.
so that's the nice thing that like working on these ports, you're like, oh wow, like we had a very low spec scenario where we were like crunching things down as much as we could, and like it felt painful. And then now on more powerful hardware, as you can imagine, it just allows it to breathe. And you're like, oh, we can, like not many people may have a PC that can play the game in 4K, but you can get either of these Xbox or
Mm.
PlayStation 5 editions and play it in 4K on your big TV. And in the case of PlayStation 5, obviously they have special haptics, and a speaker in the controller. So that was one
Mm.
part that I did get to be very hands-on with. Was the PS5 version has the kind of PS5 style HD haptics, um, and also all kinds of sounds coming from the controller, um, to enhance, I guess, dramatic effect and stuff like this. But um, I always considered this kind of like a couch game, like if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense, like a living room game.
Right,
uh,
yeah.
and so it's nice that it finally gets to go and like really live in the living room. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, fantastic. Well, I look forward to playing it in my living room.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
So I will be playing it. And I believe we should also mention that there are now additional languages in the console.
Yes.
What languages are will now be available? Do you
Yeah,
know? Of
so yes, I do. And so it'd be French,
yeah.
Korean, and Brazilian Portuguese. And this will be joining our Japanese and traditional Chinese localizations.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic. I'm sure you probably get a
so
lot of requests for languages, for different languages.
almost
And
always, yeah.
so, and how do you decide which languages to go for then?
So I mean, we consult with our publisher and
Right.
Fellow Traveler, and Fellow Traveler does provide suggestions based on various data. I know that French was an interesting one because that I think the game um, had a kind of really nice press reception in France,
That's
and
good.
we had no inkling about that before we were making it. And so I think in this case, it's like, oh, it seems like French people really like the game. Maybe we should um, yeah, see how that goes. And I think we got somebody very cool to do the French localization. Um, so that I'm excited to have that come out for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the publisher as well, Fellow Traveler, because it seems
Mhm.
like just about every game they produce becomes a hit, like, or
Mm,
is award winning, Citizen
mm,
Sleeper, Suzerain, and many, many other games,
mm,
and
mhm, mhm.
1000x Resist. And I spoke to them on the podcast as well. It seemed like they know what they're doing more so than a lot of people in the industry, I
Mm,
think.
mhm,
That I
mhm.
think that a lot of even big publishers could learn a lot from them and you guys, I feel.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they definitely took a risk on us.
mm,
And I think they definitely took a risk on some of these other games that you mentioned that have kind of come out and done well. Um, so yeah, I think that's one of those things that you see less of
mm,
these days, perhaps is maybe it was a different time also when we first signed on, but if you look at their catalog, like something like Citizen Sleeper, or previous to that in Other Waters,
yes.
Neocab and Paradise Killer, it's like they do take risks. So,
Yeah,
and that honestly, that's also why um, you know we're here to a degree, right? It's like they
absolutely.
they they did take a risk. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
mm,
great to see that, it seems to be working out
mm,
as well. And well, congratulations once again on the game and on the port to consoles. Do you know, again, more or less for people how long the game might take
So
a
the
playthrough?
game could take anywhere between 10 to 15 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you get good bang
Yeah.
for your buck then.
Yes. And I think there's a lot of, I often say there's a lot of story packed in. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yes, well, I look forward
Yeah.
to playing it myself on the console on my PS5 in the living room.
Nice.
Probably over the winter now with the fire
Yeah.
lighting. I think
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
very cozy.
Yeah.
And before I let it go, I'm sure you probably won't be able to answer this, but I'll ask you anyway. Do you have any ideas on what you might be doing next? Are you
We,
able to say anything or no?
no, well, beyond, we can't say anything, but I can say that we are doing things and there will be more things.
Okay, okay, more things.
More new things. So
That-
in the future.
Perfect. I know I put you on the spot there. I'm sure there's many
Yeah.
reasons why you can't
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, yeah,
go,
yeah.
but
No,
more
but
new
thanks for
things.
asking. Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
definitely think people will
yeah,
be curious.
yeah.
Well, look, 1000 times resist. So that's 1000x resist is available on PC, of course, on Steam, and it now will be, well, from the 4th of November 2025, it will be available on, well, consoles, Xbox, well, Games Pass as well, Xbox Series X, PS5, and Nintendo Switch. So people have many places to check it out. Where can people find you? Find out more about you guys as well.
Yeah. So you can follow us on Blue Sky and Twitter. At Blue Sky, we're at sunsetvisitor.studio. On Twitter, we're just at 1000 times resist, 1000x resist. And on Blue Sky, I'm at remysiu.com. And you can also join if you want to kind of keep up with us. One of the best places to do that is on our Discord. And you can just search for the Sunset Visitor Discord or, go to our Blue Sky and Twitter profiles and there'll be a link there. Yeah, because we do have some merch that is actually coming out.
Nice.
And you'll always be able to hear about that first on either Discord or on our socials.
Okay, so good reason right there to go on the Discord
Yeah.
and also to chat with you guys. Is there anything else that you would like to mention that we haven't mentioned? I know we've covered a lot already, but is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Um,
There doesn't have to be
no,
necessarily, but yeah.
I think that's it. Thank you for having me on, and I love adventure games.
Yeah, well, that's great. We love adventure games as well, and a lot of people love your game, from what
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
reading. So huge
Yeah.
congratulations on the game and on the port to the consoles, and I look forward to playing the game and talking about it some more. And well, the very, very best of luck with what all the other new things that you'll be doing, and I
Thank you
look
so
forward to
much.
hearing what you're doing. So, so look, the very best of luck, and hopefully we'll be chatting soon.
Yes. Talk soon.
So that was my interview with Remy Siu of Sunset Visitor, and a huge, huge thank you to Remy for agreeing to speak to me, and a huge thank you to fellow traveler who put us in contact as well. And as I said before, every game that they publish seems to be a hit, so go check out their games as well. And I'm looking forward to playing 1000 times Resist on console, and I will be reviewing it very, very soon. And so that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, but stay tuned. We'll have more episodes coming up both on YouTube and on podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever else you listen to podcasts, Podbean as well. And on the website, Adventure Games Podcast website, you can find us there. We also have a Patreon if you would like to help us out. We are independently funded podcast, as in we pay, I pay for everything myself. So if you would like to help, you can patreon.com/adventure games podcast. And there's still plenty more to come. I've interviews with Anthony Johnson, who wrote Can You Solve This Murder? An interactive mystery that combines Bodwell games and books in a really fun way, kind of like a choose your own adventure, but still different. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I spoke to him about that. He also wrote The Coldest City, which became the movie Atomic Blonde, starring Charlize Theron and Jamie McAvoy, and we spoke about that. So that will be up on the YouTube channel and on podcast very soon. And I also spoke to Dave Lloyd, who made The Drifter, which could be Game of the Year. And so keep an eyes and ears out for that. And there'll also be at Adventure X at the end of November. So if anybody's going to that, you can feel free to chat. I'm looking forward to it. Look forward to talking to people, and plenty more reviews to come as well. Plenty more reviews of the latest adventure and narrative games that we have been playing. So that is it for this episode, and we'll talk very very soon. And remember, keep on questing.